Girish, we are really glad to have you with us. You're not the first time with some of our summits, but to give our viewers a little bit of backstory, could you please tell us a bit more about yourself, your background, and your experience?
Sure, Ivana. Thank you so much for having me. I'm always delighted to be part of Data Summit. And as you said, not the first time. So I'm really very happy to be part of it even this year. So very quickly on my background, I have been close to technology for about 2 decades now. I started as a developer, had my own company very many years ago, but then have been in the consulting business on IT as well as business consulting or implementing ERP, CRM systems, PLM systems, and commerce and so on. But I've also worked as an architect, enterprise solution, and then also created innovation teams. And for example, that is what I'm responsible for right now at Husqvarna, what we call AI Lab. So the idea is that how are we innovating using the technologies and using those technologies into our business model innovation. So that has been my area. And of course, I am working for Husqvarna, but I'm also a researcher at KTH. And my research area has always been around in the mix of these 2 areas that I just said, technology and AI in specific, data-driven, and business model innovation, that how are the values to customers, to companies being implicated by data-driven technologies. So that's the spot that my research is basically around.
Great. Yeah. So why do you think there's the reason for this? What are the hurdles that traditional data governance and quality pose to companies nowadays?
And I think the biggest core, the crux here is that, we when we talk about data governance and data quality in the previous regime, traditionally, there were some problems, there were some issues which are posed. Either the data is incorrect or not available, or the reporting is inaccurate, and so on. And that's why the governance and the quality measures that we put in were always a reactive measure. That, okay, to improve something, there was a problem identified and articulated, and then we need to work on governance and quality to get rid of that problem, so to say.
Yeah.
But when you talk about governance and quality with respect to data within AI space now, now we are chasing time, meaning we are trying to improve the quality and do governance for the future usage of data. So we do not know how are we going to use, of course, in exceptional cases we do, but generally speaking, when we start to capture the data, start to store the data, it's very difficult to envision all future possible use cases already and find out what quality measures do we need, what governance measures do we need upfront. So that is, I think, fundamentally different in data-driven services, in AI-driven services, where traditional problem-solving approach will not work for quality and governance, where the problem was known and we were trying to solve it. But here, it's rather problem-solving, it's future opportunity generation problem, future opportunity exploration problem. So identifying what quality and governance measures do we need now so that we can utilize this data for future to generate products, to generate services, to generate insights, which we can use on our customers. And that's why I think it's fundamentally different when it comes to the governance and quality of the data.
That was really nicely put in terms of the context. So as a solution, in your session, you're proposing the adoption of a governance model outside of the box. What does this approach entail?
I think you should wait for the session probably. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I think what I'm trying to, and then again, of course, this is not a magic bullet that you do this and it works. We are exploring and we are learning, and that's why I'm very curious to share this with others and get others' thought. But I think the point is we need to break this quality and governance into 2 parts. Meaning one part is where you build framework, processes, best practices, and so on, what we should follow if you have to do good data quality and governance. And then the other part is the actual implementation and execution of those policies and frameworks when it comes to organization, meaning creation of forums, creation of networks, or whichever way you want to solve it. And the thing is that the support required for both these ends and the tool set required for maintenance and support for both of these ends should still be held at the same place. So for example, what is going to happen is that if we are able to separate it and still maintain it at the same level, then all of a sudden you will see that, the business gets governance, but that does not limit them, that does not slow them. But this governance is something that the business is creating for themselves because they implement it. We don't implement it. So that's why, I think we are empowering them. They are creating these governance and quality measures because this is about future. So we, a central team, for example, cannot create future governance and quality measures. The people in the business who are working close to our customers, they have the best insights to do this. So we create frameworks, tool sets, support mechanisms, but they are the ones who actually execute and implement it. And they will be motivated to do that because we are providing the maintenance and support for it. So all of a sudden they think that they get to decide the quality measures, they get to design the governance measures and so on, and they are getting support and maintenance required for it as well. But the only thing that we want all of these teams to do is follow the same best practices, the same frameworks, the same execution standards and policies and so on and so on. So I think that's the hypothesis that we are trying to work towards, which I think should work in the long run.
Yeah, so thank you for the short recap. So I'm sure that our viewers will learn more in your session. But looking more broadly, how laying down solid data governance and data quality foundation helps companies to accelerate the AI deployment, as we're now talking about AI deployment, looking into the future.
And I think our take, and my take specifically, has been that data itself will not be the USP in future, a universal selling point or a competitive edge for companies. It would rather be a ticket to play. You just need it. Right. Today it is maybe a USP for someone, but I think it is going to be not very long that it will become a ticket to play. So you just need to have it. And when that becomes a ticket to play, then the quality is going to impact the accuracy of results, the customer experience. So for example, if I'm utilizing data to identify what the future predictions are with respect to my failures of the product, with respect to my customer value change, with respect to my future orientation of the customer for decision for buying a product or changing the service, all of that will be very much depend on the data quality. So the data is the ticket to play, but the data quality is the one which is going to give us the USP. And that's why it's going to play a major role. And same for governance, for example. I think governance is going to play a major role with respect to time to market. How quickly can we change? If data gives us an insight, the governance mechanisms will decide how quickly can we change and upgrade our product, our service, our offering, so to say. And governance is going to play a major role. And the other aspect where governance, I think, will play a major role is also compliance and regulations. So today, if I am putting edge AI models where the product is taking decisions, and if for example, a customer using that product gets hit or gets injured, what is the regulation? What is the insurance for that? Yeah. And as we speak, those regulations and those compliances are being updating. And our governance mechanisms will ensure that how quickly can we adapt to these new regulations and compliances which are happening. So I think governance and quality will really play a major role when it comes to customer experiences, when it comes to go-to-market, when it comes to compliance and regulations going forward, rather than just the data, which will become ticket to play.
Right. So, yeah, this last question is also, you answered part of the last question in your answer now. But talking about predictions, what are your general predictions about data governance in the upcoming years?
Yeah. Yeah, good. And as you said, probably we have touched upon a few aspects of that
Yes.
already. I think some other aspects also is that, uh, of course, I cannot predict the future, but I think there would be some out of the box ways and approaches to do data quality and to do data governance, wherein I think it will be that our business stakeholders will play a major role rather than the architects of the platforms playing a major role. The architects of the platform will provide the tool sets to accelerate and enable business to put quality measures. So rather than being implementers of the quality and governance, we will become more accelerators and enablers, but the actual implementation responsibility for these measures will actually go back down to the business, because business will be selling products and services which has data and AI in it. And hence, I think the role of the chief data officer, for example, is going to really transform in these companies, where, maybe there will be, I'm foreseeing already there are some examples out there in the market, new companies, new offerings, new tool sets for visualization, for consulting, for execution, which are coming up more and more in the area of quality, in the area of governance, which I said I think is going to become a USP. So data quality and governance, rather than the data itself, will become the USP and give the companies the competitive edge to operate and innovate, actually, going further. So I think a lot happening inside the company, the new roles coming up in data, new positions for the CDO, how are they going to organize, but also externally in the environment of ecosystem from vendors' perspective, consulting, execution, visualization solutions, out of the box approaches to quality and governance.
Yeah, so some pretty exciting outlooks for the future. So we'll see and how that turns out. So this was our last question for this interview. I would like to thank you for taking the time to do this interview and for being with us.